All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Sorry, we're running a few minutes late. We're waiting for one more person so we can get quorum. And sorry about the heat, but our fantastic fire department is doing and give some time, some fans come in and are trying to get up with the roof and some air conditioning for try and get it fixed. So thank you for hosting us at our new location. We've been enjoying Rockwell for gosh, 5, 6, 7, 8 years maybe now. So this is coming back to where I first started when I came with that a long time ago. But I am Nikki Tuttle, and it is my privilege and honor to serve on Wichita City Council representing District 2. This is the District 2 Advisory Board meeting for Monday, July 12th, 2024 at 6 p.m. And what we're going to do is we're going to have one more person set up. We'll go ahead and get started. And we have 2 of our folks who are joining us from the District Advisory Board on the line. And we'll let them start and introduce themselves, the neighborhood or HOA that they're representing, and their favorite thing about Wichita, and then we'll come into here. So I'll just say, Tracy, would you go ahead and get started?
Sure, good evening. Tracy Adams from the Harrison Park community. And my favorite thing about Wichita today, I may have said this before, but since I just got back, is the airport. I really appreciate the short walks and the clean open space and direction. I love it.
Thank you very much. How about Chris?
Hey, good evening, Chris Broderick. I'm in the Northbrook neighborhood near 37th and Woodlawn North. And just one was the weather, but that's partially this weekend we went out and enjoyed the zoo and walked around there. And I know it's called Sedgwick County Zoo, but it's still a great zoo. So I really enjoy having that close.
Thank you. Tim, take it away.
I'm Tim Johnson. I represent the Little Bend community. I think my favorite thing about Wichita, at least today, is our public school system. For all the bad talk it gets, nowhere else in the state can you learn virtually everything there is to learn in the world and in the schools. It has the resources and the programs that no other district in the state and most other states have. That, granted, it's a function of its size, but it is absolutely fabulous. It's so deep and so wide. It takes a great deal of investment to find the perfect path for you or your child, but that path is there.
My name is Faith Martin. I am the Eastern Neighborhood Association representative, and today I would say my favorite thing is people in Wichita, because whether or not we're all grumbling or we're all cheering, I feel like we are as a community very open to helping each other. There's a lot of houseless people right now, and the community just always steps up when it's really hot or any of those things, so like chip in, and I don't know, I love the people of Wichita. It's so good to live here.
Stephanie McCurdy, I represent the Hoffman neighborhood. I am sorry. I had the opportunity to be involved in a lot of charities here in Wichita, so I've been home ground. And I'm really excited for those home ground because I've seen a lot of, especially some of the ones from us, we can make leaps and bounds with the event for our community. So I'm very that's it.
My name is Eric Miller. I represent the Bonnie Brand Homeowners Association. I've been with Stephanie. One of my favorite things about Wichita is the commitment to our nonprofit community and all the support that our citizens get.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And Teresa.
So I'm Teresa Beasy. I'm the Community Services Representative for District 2. And my favorite thing about Wichita is that school starts on Wednesday. My daughter was back to school on Wednesday. So that's my favorite thing.
Helen's party's over, right? All right, we'll go ahead and move on with the rest of the agenda. Next, we have the approval of the agenda for this evening, August 12th, 2024. I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Is anyone against the agenda? All right, motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes from June 10th, 2024. We did not have July 8th that meeting because there was not a new business items, and so we just did staff reports via email. So hopefully you had a chance to enjoy thoroughly all of the wonderful minutes from Teresa from back in June, and hopefully you remember the meeting back in June to see if there's any changes or corrections. If none, I would entertain a motion to approve. Thank you.
Second.
Second by Aaron Orsted, take a pick. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Is there anyone here this evening who wants to speak on the public agenda for an item that's not on the agenda? So you're here to speak about a topic in the community that isn't on the agenda. All right, seeing none, we'll go into staff reports. Which topic, please? We have Officer Metcalf joining us virtually. Thank you for being here this evening.
Hello, can you guys hear me okay?
Maybe just a little louder or closer to your mic. We have a lot of fans on here because of the heat and the air conditioning being out, so use your outside voice.
Okay, I'll be as loud as I can. A few things to update you guys on. We have neighborhood night out tomorrow night, so there's lots of block parties and neighborhood association parties. Our community policing officers will be working late to attend those meetings. We'll hit all of those in the Patrol East Bureau. We have a brand new Patrol East station. We also have an open house for that station this Thursday from 10:45 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if you want to come see the station, we'll be giving tours and showing people around our new place. It's fantastic. It is a huge upgrade for us, and we're really appreciative of it. It's going to be a great place for us to work out of. We have new body cameras and tasers that have been recently deployed to all officers, or most officers. The new body cameras have a significantly higher resolution, so makes it easier for us to review video and see details. We also have a Patrol East Facebook page. If you want to get updates specific to Patrol East, look us up on Facebook, and we'll occasionally post stuff there specific to Patrol East. And finally, this Saturday night, my team will be coming in to work overnight for the Pawnee and Hillside area. We've had some issues with some big disturbances down there after the bars let out. People are congregating in the parking lots and causing issues, so my team is going to come in to work to address that. That's all I have.
Any questions for Officer Metcalf?
Officer Metcalf, what time did you say that the Patrol East open house started?
Thursday from 10:45 a.m. to 1 p.m.
And I'm assuming we're doing it in collaboration with the media briefing, correct, at 10:45?
Yeah, and then the address for the new station is 5215 East Lincoln. It's on Lincoln between Oliver and Edgemore.
I have to say, Officer Metcalf, when I first came on council and I was doing all my tours and meeting, everyone in the district, and we don't have a fire station, excuse me, police bureau in District 2, but we lean into the east and to north, right? And so they told me at the East Borough that the new police station was the golden unicorn, because they said it was never gonna happen. So now I everyone that we've caught the unicorn, because we're getting ready to open it up and it's a beautiful facility.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Awesome. Okay, I don't see any other questions, so thank you. Oh, Sean.
I just, one more, I was looking through to make sure I didn't miss, is there a crime stat report that we didn't? Or that I'm missing? I got a bunch of emails, I'm sorry.
Teresa, did we get crime stuff? We got it. We'll get it and get it sent to you. Okay, thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Have a safe evening. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you. Fire. We're in your house tonight. Yes.
My name's Terry Gresham. I'm battalion chief over here in battalion 3 on the east side. So 20 is one of my stations. I sent out an August ad report, which is Teresa, and I believe she posted it online and gave it out to everybody else. I'm not gonna cover everything in it, kind of go over some of the highlights. There's some stuff about operations, a couple different fires we made, recently in July. One of the big things to think about is with candles, anything like that that's burning. One thing they want to point out is you may be home, but you also have animals that are walking around your house, cats, dogs. They can knock over those candles if you're not in the room. So something to be aware of on that. So you're not really keeping an eye on the candle if you're not in the room. So just something to be aware of. Another thing they ended up making up at Riverfront Stadium, they ended up during, I think they had a baseball team, young children and an adult that got trapped in the elevator going up and down. So they ended up getting all of them out. They weren't able to reset it, so they ended up having to lock out the elevator and ended up pulling the children and everybody up to the top of the apartment. August, obviously back to school going on. They have some different points in here about school zones, taking your time. They're talking about nobody wants a ticket. I think the biggest thing is don't get in a hurry. Children are gonna be children. They're gonna get out, they're gonna run out in front of you. It's one of the same things that we point out to all of our drivers. If we're going to an emergency, we still have to pay attention. We still have to watch in the school zone, especially with buses. Buses are gonna put out. Hello? Yeah, she does more than me. I don't come in this room very often. But just pay attention, take your time with the buses. Like I said, they're gonna have their stop signs out, just don't get in a hurry. A lot of people get impatient, especially when they're going home, or going to home, going to work. And that's usually when we see the accidents. Let's see. Some of the other stuff we've done in June. This falls back to June because we're still got to tally our numbers for July. The fire department put in almost 2,200 hours of documented training, 219 hours at our regional training center, and 14 hours with outside agencies like Andover, Derby, and everything else. We try to make sure we get hours in with them. It's usually harder during the summer due to the heat. So usually we try to get out early and get all that done as soon as we can before it gets too warm. Let's see. We had 15 fires between June 20th and July 20th. Total cost for damages on those was $455,000. One thing I want to point out, this doesn't tell the whole story. These are only fires that are investigated by our investigators. This is when we show up, we have a fire, we cannot readily look at it, whether it was a kitchen fire, or we can see that it started from an outlet. So if we have a situation where we can see it, we don't end up needing to call them in. So you can really double those numbers if you wanted to, and you're going to be able to see how many structure fires we actually have, and then the total damage. There's a couple other ones in here talking about other fires. It's just something to read about. We did have a fire in District 2 right way out east here not too long ago. It ended up being a kitchen fire. It was probably about a week and a half ago. So that just happened recently. And it just happened to be a kitchen fire, unintended cooking. Happens to everybody sometimes. So it's just one of those things to always remember. If you're cooking, stay in the kitchen. Don't get distracted. It's really easy to get distracted. And nowadays with technology, phones and everything else, it's even easier to get distracted. Go over our numbers for July, for the 4th of July during that time, because everybody was kind of interested on how many calls we ran. To 911 reported 1,160 non-emergent calls, so we didn't run emergency traffic to those. The fireworks teams that we sent out handed out 34 citations between June 27th and July 6th. We responded to one structure fire that was related to fireworks, and it was improper disposal. A lot of times what people do is they shoot their fireworks off, they throw them in their trash cans, they pull their trash cans up next to their house. And that's usually where the fire is. I've seen that probably more than anything. Or if you don't clean out your gutters and you shoot fireworks off, you have fire start in your gutters. Believe it or not, it happens quite often. The fire loss for that was only $10,000. 36 City of Wichita citizens went in for medical attention. And In 2023, we had 39, so the number was actually down. Victims ranged between 22 months and 48 years old. 22 were male, 14 were female. And they said the leading injury was due to mortar shells, followed by firecrackers. So overall, our calls ended up decreasing this year from 1,224 in 2023 to 1,160 in 2024. That's kind of the highlights. If you have any questions, feel free.
I don't see any, but I just appreciate a moment and just we lost a firefighter about 2 weeks ago, Friday. This is service. It was probably one of the most touching experiences I've ever seen. To see a firefighter who's laid to rest for protecting us. So thank you for you and your team. Our hearts and prayers are certainly with the family of the fire department. Your brothers was laid to rest, and that's not also the district. So thank you for
We appreciate it.
Thanks for letting us be here tonight.
Yep, and hopefully it'll cool down a little bit. We did set up another fan, so hopefully it's gonna push that air in here. We apologize. It was working earlier today, we promise you.
This never happened when John hosted it.
I
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do not see John with Park and Rec, so we will go on to John with Shawbo Library. Unless JD, are you texting in? Are you here for the other agenda? No, I'm just here. This year? Awesome, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Solari. I'm the Rockville Branch Manager representing Wichita Public Library this evening. The favorite thing about Wichita today is Great Plains Nature Center. I got to walk there this weekend in this awesome weather, and I got to see 3 deer. So very good. So here's some things that are happening at the library this month. If you're interested in donating blood, Wichita Public Library is hosting a Red Cross blood drive. That will be on Monday, August 26th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Advanced Learning Library. This is in partnership with the American Red Cross, so please book your appointment at www.redcrossblood.org/give.html. Also, don't forget you can now borrow blood pressure monitors from the library as part of our Library of Things collection. Each kit comes with a blood pressure monitor, a logbook, a pre-survey, and instruction booklet. More information is available at wichitalibrary.org/games. And the library currently has 2 expansion and renovation projects in the works. One is at Westlake and one is at Rockwell. More information about the branch remodels, including construction photos, floor plans, can be found at the library's website, wichitalibrary.org. And I wanted to share some of the highlights of our expansion and renovation, and also pass along some pictures so we can get an idea what things are going to be like. So our parking lot is being expanded by 30 additional stalls and safety upgrades. We're going to have over 80 stalls there. We're adding a drive-through connected to East 9th Street North for convenient drop-off and pickup. We have improved access to the courtyard area or expanded programming for our children's programs. Inside, we're expanding our sections for children, adults, and new teens section. We are adding 5 additional study meeting rooms. These are small collaboration rooms that anybody in the community can reserve. Reserve them a week in advance, up to 2 hours a day. These are very similar to the collaboration rooms that are at the Advanced Learning Library. Very popular. I think the ones we're talking about are very popular as well. We also have some private space for families and a special nursing room. We are doubling the existing meeting space. So when we get back in there, we'll have to double the size of the space. We are improving and enlarging staff work areas. We are upgrading all of the power, the charging, and technology upgrades to make it a modern library. And we are doing the interior facelift which includes new flooring, paint, and furniture in the existing portion of the library. And we are adding an additional ADA compliant restroom. So those are some of the highlights. I do have a color photograph that we passed around to the DAC board members. This shows both our new north and east expansion area, which they're going to be currently working on now. They are going to move us out at the end of the year to work on the current renovation inside where we're at right now. So those are some of the highlights.
And John, what's the best part about the renovation?
The fireplace is staying.
Yes.
It's not going to be a fireplace, but it's going to be an electronic fireplace. So we'll have the Omnion electrical fireplace like you see in a lot of restaurants and new homes nowadays. And also have heat. And so you'll be able to lounge there and relax, read a book, and stay warm.
And Sandy can still.
Absolutely. Chimney standings, yes. At this time, I will take any questions about renovation or anything else going on at the library. I do have my library director, Jamie, here, and also Anthony from Platinums. Any questions about the project?
John, I don't know if I was gonna add a little bit to it later in the agenda, if you want me to come now.
Right now, it's great.
Okay, I'll come. I'll have you go to the beginning. Okay.
This is Emily from
Hi, my name is Emily Taylor. I'm an architect with Hutton. We're the design builder that has been selected to lead the projects that are going on at Rockwell, which, as John mentioned, fencing up and activity starting, but then also at the Alfred and Angelo branches that will be starting soon. The general timeline of these projects, like I said, Rockwell, we are expecting a building permit any day now, and you'll start to see construction activity happening on site. And then Alfred and Angelo are wrapping up the design process now. And those would be expected to start construction later this year. But Rockwell's getting a big addition to the east and the north side. That is going to go first. So you'll see activity happening outside of the ranch while it remains open basically through the rest of the year. And then the interior remodel will start after that, after the first year. So if you'll go to, yeah, site plan first. But yeah, scroll up one. Yep. Sorry, no, earlier, the green one. So when John was talking about parking expansion, that is all going to be happening towards the south. So right now there's basically one row of parking kind of top and bottom, that we're extending parking to the south, and then also moving all of the ADA stalls so they're closer to the building, just some small moves there that can help improve safety. But also adding on the right side of this image, that is a drop-off lane for the new drive-through. So in addition, we'll have a drive-through similar to, like we said, the advanced learning library. So all of your pickup and drop-off can now be done without getting. Now, when you go to Rockwell, you car, and then you get out and then walk up to the thing where sometimes people just park the wrong way and block the book return and block the drive. So lots of site efficiency things that seem kind of like a small deal, but you'll really appreciate it when it's complete when you get to visit. I'm going to go to the next slide, Teresa. So this is the existing floor plan. If you're unfamiliar with the branch, the adult stacks are kind of back here in the left corner. They're all 6 or 7 feet tall. They're super tall. It looks like the sad old back of the library. The big 2-story volume in here, the ceiling in there is super beautiful. A lot of the finishes are very outdated, and there's actually some lighting that was added like in the 90s that really makes it difficult to appreciate the architecture of the space. Okay. So the green button pointed out. I'll have you go back to the floodlight. So that's okay. It's like it's even on the wall, but it's the screen. Okay, I'll go back. And then the children's section over in this area, the children's section is still going to stay sort of on this area of the building, but right now it's kind of hard to see, like all of the staff area in the middle. They struggle to see the technology space and the children's space, and then obviously the big tall stacks area and adults all at the same time. So lots of furniture changes coming, and then obviously bringing everything down to a scale where it's going to be a lot easier for staff to help everybody. And then the work area today is super, super crammed. You would be, if most of you have never been back there, you'd be shocked at how many people they shove back there. Because if you did not know, I learned this recently actually, that all of our library's collections, like the whole library system, are stored at the branches themselves. There's no annex, there's no back of house building somewhere. So every book that the city has in its possession gets touched and put into place and put on a shelf at a branch. And a lot of it happens in Rockwell. And then like John said, the meeting room is gonna get expanded in size. So I'll have you go next one, Teresa. So this is the expansion over here to the top and the right. You see the children's section is essentially doubled. That's kind of this area. There's really no dedicated space for teens right now. And so the teens will have their own home, including some lounge space and some meeting rooms, kind of clustered here towards the back. But the way that the front desk is going to be opened up will make it so that it's still easy to see them from everywhere. Adults is going to stay in the same area, but some of the study rooms are going to be added over there. And then that collection area will expand actually out to the middle in the tall gabled space too. And then the staff work area is going to get extended. So they have a lot more space and organized much more properly to do their work. And then obviously with the addition of the drive-through windows, there's some point of service stations up against the east side of the building. And the new ADA restroom will be right next to the two existing restrooms. Any questions about function? Okay. How do you go to the next one, Lisa? So this is the view from 9th Street. So the red brick portion is what you're familiar with today. The black is the addition. And if you get close to the building today, it actually has a blend of bricks that includes, it's called an iron spot. It kind of has like a shiny texture. It was really cool in the 70s when it was built, and it's actually really cool again. It's all over the Delano area, like Riverfront Stadium is clad in this brick. So it just feels like really cool timing that some of the trends at the time that Rockwell was built are back. So we can, it's both respectful of the existing building and kind of fun and trendy to get to like celebrate the original architecture in a way.
Just like wetland things.
That's right. Well, I mean, you guys did centuries kind of back in. That was sort of the era that this branch was, and then a lot of it's gotten covered up over time with green carpet, for example. Actually, there was also green carpet in the 70s too, but your green carpet's not from the 70s. So it's just been really cool how it sort of worked out stylistically. That it's really easy to make choices that go in this branch. With the stuff that's already there. We go to the next one, just focus on the exterior. This is from the northeast, so again, the same addition. If you go to the left, you can see the little canopy where the drive-thru will be, and then the little diamond windows are kind of a playful piece that peeks into the children's area and ties back to the big cool diamond windows that, like I said, maybe you've never even noticed from the inside before. But we are going to open that civic space back up and then celebrate those anyway. We go to the next one. For the southeast, the black piece kind of on the left portion of the screen here is the expansion of the meeting room. And then again, the red is the portion that's bumped out for the drive-through. We go to this last one. And then here's the interior and exterior materials palette, where the color shows up mostly like the portion up at the top where it's like the right side of the pink, the green, the yellow, blue. A lot of that shows up a lot more strongly in the children's area. So most of the branch will be A little bit more neutral with greens, browns, bringing in the wood tone, the ceiling in there, like I said, really beautiful wood. So again, kind of tying into the mid-century stuff that's cool again right now, but there will be more color that shows up in the children's area. And I too am very excited. The fireplace, it's not even that it's gonna stay, it's just kind of a crappy hole in the wall. It's like, it will be a real, it'll be a real fireplace again, so we're really excited about that feature too. There is, we have a copy of the art RFP. We can just scroll through that real briefly. It's the document. That has gone to design council, and those calls for artists, I think those actually went live last week. Cafe is the platform that the city uses to procure calls for artists. Hutton is leading this, but it will go through the normal sort of public selection processes. So there are a few locations identified at each branch to receive art. Rockwell, one of those is at the entry, and then an outdoor sculpture kind of on the northwest side. And so we would expect that in the coming months, we're going to start to see proposals from artists about how they would fulfill the visions for each of those branches. And then this also includes the request for proposals for art for Angelo and Alfred. Each of the branches kind of has its own theme, again, that's like tied to the character, basically of the existing buildings. That Alfred has sort of an aviation theme. It's already very obvious with architecture of that building. Angelo obviously has a very strong history of celebrating Maya Angelou's work, and then there's a mural on the outside that describes how the tapestry and diversity of our community is really a strength. So that's on that. And then Rockwell, like I said, playing on kind of mid-century modern architecture of that space. Art is selected in late October. So that'll be when we kind of have the full circle picture of what each of the spaces will look like. So any questions about
I've actually booked quite a few meetings for another organization. So we appreciate that that's expanding. It's the AV. Like in this picture, that's kind of the shape that it was before, but the AV was on the long wall and most of the time the room was set up. So the people are this way, and then you're looking at the screen that's over here. Is it gonna be? It's gonna be the opposite way.
AV will be on the right hand side.
Yay.
Yeah, a long way.
Any other questions or comments? Not seeing any. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your partnership. It's going to be phenomenal. Very excited. Awesome. Next and last staff reports, we have Sean with Public Utilities. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you. Sean Mays, Chief Design Engineer for the City of Wichita. I'll run through this very quick, and if you have questions, stop me, you can ask me after we get through it. Some of these have apps associated with them because there's too many specific so you, and I don't think there's one that, so you can go on the city's website, look at some of the, but I'll start out with the 2024 pavement preservation program. So asphalt overlay, project on there, a few projects on there. Start out with Lincoln from Woodlawn to Drop. Phase 1 will come in and do repairs, and then phase 2 they'll come in and do the asphalt overlay. As part of that overlay, they're working at converting it from a 4 to a 3 lane. I can go through the reasons for wanting to do that. If somebody has questions, please do. But that's one of the things we typically look at more. We have 4 lanes. Traffic volumes are not needed to have those 4 lanes. We're converting them to a 3 lane. Part of it's safety, part of it's traffic flow, part of it's in some cases we actually have other infrastructure on there. There are some cases we actually have also bike lanes. Lighting up. Depends on the main configuration, how wide the lanes are. And then the other overlay project is Parker from Lincoln to Florida. Again, phase one, and we're coming into, patching phase two, and we're coming into the overlay. The overlay for Armor is scheduled for October. And then we'll make some overlay down to October. Microservicing, I'll just touch base here. Paper repairs are in progress. Service estimated to begin in September. Reservation seals for 2024 complete. So those are newer projects that have been completed. I'm going to do reservation seal to try to get that implemented last fall. Typically do that year after a project's completed or gets improvements to it. That's the maintenance project and what that's grant reservation seal. Crack seal contractors are currently developing schedules for that. Residential streets, again, with some of these names, everyone needs to look at the map. If we have any specific questions, I need to try to answer those. For crosswalk repair, contracts are on schedule, and those locations are Kellogg Armor, 86 o'clock, 86 o'clock is currently in progress. Looks like Kellogg Armor will start sometime this month. And then there's some worldwide repair, which is at 1096 and 21st Street. That will hit on 16. Redbud Path, Woodlawn, 896. I don't know that there's anything I necessarily want to highlight, other than that's the expansion of the existing path, looking at a similar section to what we built on the east side of 96, where you have, that's about, I think it's 9-foot concrete, 1 foot shoulder on one side to try to protect that shore, and then 4 feet of rock on the other side. So part of the last phase we heard when we developed that concept was that the rudder did not like running on concrete, right? The rock was much better for the joints mixed on. Feedback heard, and we have recently got some more federal funding that project too, so it should help cover some of the costs. So we've got a significant amount of federal funding for that project. If you have any questions about the design, in general, that's what we're looking at. Current concept has improvements at Woodlawn, and it's a crossing. There's complaints there about the signal that was there, so we're looking to upgrade it. At Rock, we're looking at the bridge over Rock Road. At Greenwich and Webb, we are looking at Greenwich modifying the existing turn lane and median. Still going to be there, we're just modifying it. And Webb, we're actually looking at widening to a 5-way with the median center, so you have a place of refuge in the center across. And all of those would be stabilized, except for Rock, which has the bridge. 143rd Street. What you can update, we're working through the design process now. Looking at the 5-lane section, 10-foot wide path. On the west, 6-foot sidewalk on the east. We are coordinating the KDOT with the Kellogg project, raising for us to develop the 5-lane section. Goes back to 2-lane. So we're trying to coordinate that. I'll talk a little bit about East Kellogg here. We are working with them. Our ideal situation would probably be with after the East Kellogg, see the contractor and see what their phasing is going to look like when they propose. Because obviously we put phasing plans, we put requirements in here, but typically there's some opening to let the contractor have some flexibility that they can find some efficiencies. So we're trying to figure out what their phasing is going to look like and then probably fit our project to provide. That project does include an intersection in that area. And one of the projects that's not on here, we recently got the design contract for the area from Greenwich to, sorry, from 127 to 143. They're just starting the process. Multimodal is something that impacts everybody, so it's not necessarily this district, but we opened up bids in June. They wrote the engineer's estimate. We got some deobligated federal funding from Medco. 896 from I-135 to 21st Street. based on the information here, nothing really new. Expanding to a 6-lane with interchange improvements. Construction will begin in late 26, early 27, a couple of houses. KDOT is running that project. It's a whole KDOT project. I'm pretty sure they have a website for it, but I can get you that information. We'll have to look at it. They interchange a little bit. Hopefully that makes sense. And then you come along from K96 to Round Mountain East 59. Again, KDOT project, city's involved, so they got money in the project. It's going to expand when you see up here Greenwich. Includes interchange on 43rd and 159. Both of those main lines at the top. Both those interchanges. Construction is proposed to begin in fall. Crew-related construction, and not because it's in this district, kind of impacts the city of East Falls North Junction. Estimated completion for the project is 34.6. Major traffic impact is the hydraulic ramp. Now they will have intermittent things going on. I was trying to go back right around this past weekend for a wedding, and on the goal I had to go down to 29 and turn around and actually go over. So they will have some closures. I think it looks like they were all looking at the trust side. They had closures. Closures with that project. Project website there you can look at. And the final thing I'm going to touch on is last Monday we started stage 2 of our job response. Based on 12-month average of conservation pool levels in Genie Lake, which is one of the sources of where we get our drinking water from. So, what's not supposed to water outside, if you use some city water, your yard and stuff, there are specific days. Each section of town has a specific day. You probably see it on the news. So, Monday is northwest, Tuesday is northeast, Wednesday is southwest, and Thursday is southeast. So depending on where you live, that's when we're supposed to be watering outside. Water. We have wells, encouraged to conserve, but can't water more than just those days. The intent, I think, is that if you have a well, you're supposed to put a sign. I personally have not done so. I think everybody, my neighborhood has a well. I think down west and water table is only about 50 feet. But that is the intent as far as to let people know that that's where you go to water, so you don't see people. And that they're not actually doing anything wrong. There are some exemptions and there are some fines that be associated with that. There are letters that go out both by mailing and hand delivering. Fines levied. The first fine is $50. The second is fine after that. It's $100. There's general information on the website. Look at it. It has the 12-month rolling average on the city website. Where the elevation is now, because I looked today before we got here, it looked like that was the date August 1st. Go on the U.S. Course Engineers website for Genie Lake, see what the actual conservation elevation is. That also tells you, I think, around 2.5 inches of rain over that whole basin is what you would need to fill conservation. Just information like that, as the city's site will have. It's just really a response to how it was. And the drought response would be that the intent is to try to have 10%. See how effective that is. Try to get us there. That, my opinion, questions?
I've read that Pat, I'll have one for you there. There's been, it's going on your side of the road. On the east side of the road, there's no one person there to take care of that problem. On the west side of the road, there's still cars. So do we have adequate parking there for that or that?
So one of the components of last project was to take out the lift station at Foundation. There's a lift station there, it's very south end. Of sewage. We couldn't do that until planning improvements were made, kind of full operating. We are working through a design that we also need to have a parallel main. This is sewage is enough that we need to have another main. So we'll do that design. And once that's done, we convert that to parking. It's not a significant parking lot. In this phase, we're also looking at a couple of locations. They did the same thing out at 135th. At least visibility out of 135th is not quite as bad as what I remember being out. Visibility is probably there. And I have to go back and look at that section of 133rd. If I remember correctly. We are trying to accommodate some that are out there where we have some room to, there's
currently about like enough for 2 vehicles to enter, and there's more than 2 that are gathering there, so.
and we heard that in the last piece, and during design and during, I think, even construction, one of the property that reached out to us, asphalt map. So there's nothing really stopping people from going off. Part of the issue is really the one for something that somebody does go off the road that causes them significant harm. Just driving and you go off the road, you don't want to put a barrier there that's going to hurt them. So it's a little tricky about how to do anything there. Probably until it's upgraded to a covered pedestrian. Hopefully some of the parking intermittently on the way out there would help out.
I would encourage you to look at the area, particularly because there's some things there, and some of those on the road that take me seriously.
I'd just like to give a shout out to all the work that the city's done to explain the drought, and I hope that people are, if you're gonna get a rain barrel now, it's got a huge rain chain. The rain barrel, the rain chain with you, but it's like, let's take advantage of that, I don't know how long the city will that rebate on that, but.
You can go on the website, there's a number of connections, you can get rebates.
It's first come, first served.
And there's so much money out getting each year, so. Rain barrels is one of them, you can use low flow showers, low flow toilets, there's a handful of different things you can go with. And that's part of probably the reason we're not in as bad a situation we is in the last 20 years. Newer homes, people can remodels, a lot of those things already.
And echo the city stuff. It's been a rough couple of weeks and answering a lot of questions, a lot of misconceptions. I do want to point out, and Sean, you mentioned those were well, here, but even if you have a well, please try and follow the guidelines. If the water all comes from the same place, right? It's our most precious resource that we have. So we're trying to do everything to restore it. Right. In 2013, Cheney was filled in a one-day rain event, right? So until that happens, we get water. The other thing I just want to mention, you talked about North Junction, you talked about P86, and you talked about this 9/11 expansion. Those 3 projects combined are $1 billion for infrastructure. And then new water treatment plant, we're going to be getting a new online this spring. B&R sewage treatment plant improvements, that's another $1 billion. So the city really is doing its job investing in our infrastructure and planning for growth of our vision. So, any other questions for John? John, thank you for joining us. You're always welcome. Yes, yes, sir.
At 96 Rock, when do you expect to complete that? And second, have you thought about things like trying Florida, so people would know when it would be open rather than, you know, being a week, 2 weeks, a month later to vote? I could have got out.
You're talking about where crosswalks?
Right now, the exit is closed. So 96 in Rock Road going west is closed.
East
To get on or
To get off.
to get on?
They're both close.
I wouldn't have thought we would have completely closed it for a crosswalk. I mean, even when we've done the arterial, I would have to look and see what the width is once you get down there to be able to comment that. I would have to check and be.
And it's been closed all week. We're going to see how long that.
Typically, we would put up electronic message boards. Some of the maintenance projects are short enough time frame that they don't end up doing it. But I can check out and make sure I know why it's closed and try to get some information.
Very small, but it's on each direction, but it just says closed, obviously. Or whenever it closed last week.
It's like close 8/5, then they close it on 8/5. It's 2 or 3 days
Yeah.
later.
That always creates.
Sometimes, depending on the status of the work going on, go ahead, finish for the day and pull the code. So you can use those ramps, but you don't know when you can use those ramps. So you want to suit, especially at drive time. So it's a mess.
I would probably encourage that same level of scrutiny when you do call the comfort. Because I live right by there, and it is a my area, it's not closed off. I make a lot of communication with all of the stop access, and people just the red light go. I love see the break down there back. I look how on our roadside, so it's a lot of communication with everyone there.
Maybe this week.
I'm assuming they'll go back to the concrete. So there's a little bit of cure time to it. I don't know that for a fact, that's what we have to do. They're not going back with the brick. They're actually taking the brick out, and putting all the concrete in there. And it's stamped colored, so it actually looks a lot like the brick. But the main reason for that is the maintenance thing, where it's concrete, it lasts a lot longer. Those bricks, if everything's perfect, it lasts pretty long. I mean, you go down to some older areas of town, those bricks have been there for probably 100 years. Those streets typically don't get snowplows. And then as soon as the snowplow runs over, one of them's offset a little bit, chips it, and then just keeps the grid.
I have praised staff on the bench many times for using state concrete and not us. Yeah, so I think that's a fantastic way to go. All right, thank you, Sean. Safe route to that to the west side, right?
Yep.
Okay, go put your will sign out. Thank you for being here. Next on the agenda, we have one new business item, CP 2024-024, and Christina is going to be here to give us the staff report. What we'll do is we'll get the staff report, and then we'll have questions from the district advisory members, and then we'll have an opportunity for the applicant to respond, and we can. Did I miss Trish? I didn't see you here. I know I'm there, so.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for helping me and always yell. So then we'll have questions from the applicant or time for the applicant to respond. And we'll have questions. And then anyone in the community who's here to speak will be able to come. And we'll have 3 minutes for anyone who wants to speak, and we can ask questions and we'll dialogue. So just kind of go the normal way that we do these, but if it's your first time here, that's the process. And Christina will be available to answer questions from the district advisory board, the applicant, or the community members. And I want to disclose that I have had ex parte communication with the applicant, with residents who live in the proximity of this, and then also for advocates for this project. And I will also announce that from the bench. So with that, Christina, take it away.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Christina Reed from the planning staff. I'll be presenting the report for CP 2024-024. So the applicant requests to amend the provisions of something called the community unit plan. So for those of you who weren't at the MAPC meeting on Thursday, I just wanted to give like a brief overview of like how this all works within the planning department. So this particular piece of property is within something called the community unit plan. So within a community unit plan that's recorded with the planning department, each parcel has to determine the types of uses that are permitted on each property. And usually with CUPs, this is for ones that are commercially zoned that are greater than 6 acres in size. And I tell people it's essentially to prevent like 6 different gas stations from happening like on the same like acre of land, right? So for the CUP, it is mostly residential, but it's still a CUP. So if you ever want to amend the uses that are on the parcel that aren't already provided in the document, that's where they come in and they have to request an amendment from the planning department. So this particular parcel is requesting to amend the CUP to allow correctional placement residence general, and this is parcel 12B. So the parcel in and of itself is 1.66 acres in size. It's a general office, and it's generally located on the west side of North Broadmoor and just south of East 21st Street North. So this is, the address for that is 2115 2123 North Broadmoor. It's currently developed with a 15,000 square foot housing complex that was constructed in 2010. I think, like, based on what Google Maps said, it was originally a dormitory for an educational institution. So it's currently vacant, and the applicant intends to utilize existing buildings for that proposed use. So we have here in the staff report what correctional placement residence is, how it's defined in the zoning code. It is not a correctional institution. I had to have a couple conversations about this is not a prison, it's not a jail, this is a correctional placement residence. So some of the folks that will be residing on this property, they're there as part of condition of their parole, something like that. So the reason that we call it correctional placement residence general is because for the zoning code, they would like to occupy, or they would like to have more than 15 individuals on site. When it's less than 15 individuals, it's correctional placement residence limited. So normally, if this was not within a CUP, this would require a conditional use application for our department, and the planning or the process would be the same: public hearing, application, city council approval, et cetera, so this is a CUP, so it's again a similar process. I just want to point out that correctional placement residences in the city are subject to section 20.08 of the Wichita Municipal Code, which includes provisions on criminal background checks, inspections, spacing requirements, licensing, penalties, violations, and also standards for facilities with sex offender populations. So because of its proximity to a daycare center at this time, registered sex offenders are not allowed on this property. If they want to request a waiver of that regulation, that has to go to the city council. It doesn't necessarily come through the planning department because it's a city code thing. But again, like there's an entire section with him about this before the meeting. Like there's paragraphs and paragraphs. I mean, it's a huge section of the code that talks about, regulations for correctional placement residences. The character of the neighborhood is a mix of commercial and high density residential development. So all the properties that you see within the area, or at least within the immediate area, are within that CUP. So we got some commercial office building, we do have a daycare center, and then some multifamily housing. So earlier this year, there was just parcel 12, and administratively, we approved an adjustment to the CUP to create parcels 12, 12A, and 12B. And as long as the permitted uses don't change, that's how we made it administrative. So parcel 12B is requesting a new use, which triggers the amendment. And this CUP has been around, I want to say since the 70s, so there's been a lot of different zoning cases that have happened, so I'm not going to go into those in depth. The site has access to North Broadmoor. and then Wichita Transit starts a site within 1 block northeast. So that would be on the corner of 21st and Broadmoor. The requested amendment is in conformance with the community investments plan. The future growth concept map that's part of this plan identifies the site to be appropriate for new residential, so I define that in the report here. So technically, correctional placement residence, it's defined in our code as a code for civic use, it's not for residential use, but for all intents and purposes, we are saying that it is residential in nature, so we are saying that it is in conformance with the community investments plan. And then within that plan, there's a set of development patterns, general guidelines, and one of them is I put quote here: development should occur where necessary supporting infrastructure and services exist, or plan for extension concurrently with the development. So the applicant intends to use existing residential buildings on site for this correctional residence. So we're saying that it is in conformance with the plan. And then the Wichita Places for People plan, we also do we compare the request with an analysis or do an analysis compared to the plan. And then the plan has a set of strategies. So strategy 3 in that plan says improve the economic feasibility of commercial service uses and markets necessary to support them. So the proposed use for the site, as I mentioned, will utilize existing buildings. It's located in an area with existing municipal infrastructure. It's situated near properties that similarly provide residential uses. So we are saying in that sense that this request is improving economic feasibility. So based upon the information at the time the staff report was prepared, staff is recommending that the amendment be approved subject to the following conditions. 1, the correctional placement residence general shall comply with section 20 of the Wichita Municipal Code. So when it comes to enforcement, if they are found in violation of Title 2 of the Wichita Municipal Code, there is a process in which it's not even like they have like these penalties or fines. Like we can revoke this amendment entirely. And so someone else comes in and wants to do something similar, they would have to apply for this process all over again. And so not to be too strict or anything, but yeah. And then just 2 other provisions that we pretty much say is standard part of CUP. Just make sure that they update the document. That is on, let's see, I did not provide. Yes, so they just have to provide an updated document of what's on page 7 of your report within 60 days. So this recommendation is based on golden rules. There are 8 rules that we apply to when we do an analysis of whether we decide to recommend denial or approval for anything that comes to our department. We do an analysis based on these golden rules. And so we read through those in your staff report. The one thing I do want to touch upon is the last one, opposition for support of neighborhood residents. So when I sent this out last week or the week before, that was true. I only did receive 1 comment from the adjacent property owner who was curious about the development. Well, that has changed. I have received several handwritten letters, emails, phone calls. I think they are all in opposition. Sorry, thank you. You can hear? I'm sorry. Yeah, so they are, I have received many comments in opposition to the requested CUP amendment through emails and handwritten letters. And those were provided to the commissioners at the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission last Thursday. Well, they were provided to them last week, but before the meeting on Thursday. So this did go to the commission last Thursday, and they recommended approval subject to staff conditions, 7 and 3. And if we want to go through the site photos, please, or just some of the extra graphics there. So that's the CUP, that's an aerial. This is the zoning of the CUP. So basically, the biggest square that you can find between 21st and the bottom of the page, that is the entire community plan. The future growth concept plan. And then these are some of the site photos, so this is outlining where looking north towards the site is the space that they're looking to occupy. Looking south away from the site, I tried to highlight, try to get a picture in which you see a line of trees, and then just south of that is more residential development. And then you also have multifamily residential development just southwest of the subject site. And then looking east away from the site, that's where you have some multifamily housing. I want to go to the next page, thank you. So we've got looking south towards the site, looking north away from the site, we've got the commercial office building, and then I got a little bit of the daycare to the right, towards this, looking north away from the site. Looking west away from the site, we see another commercial office building. With that, I will stand for questions.
So questions for the district advisory.
So does this mean that the property's been sitting vacant for 14 years, that's how I understand this?
So it was constructed in 2010. I don't know when the previous occupants moved out of that space. I don't have that information.
Okay, just constructed, not been sitting vacant.
Yeah, did I write it wrong in my report?
It just says length of time the property's been vacant, and it says property developed in 2010, so I didn't know if it was maybe it didn't know what it did, or.
Yeah, it's weird how they describe vacant, because sometimes when there's a building on site, they're like, no, it's not vacant, and sometimes it's, so yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Yes.
Unsurprisingly, I have a couple questions. And right there, Teresa. Go south down Broadmoor from the blue box to the curve and turn right and then follow around to Chatham Street. Third house on the north side. That's my son's house. He and his 4-year-old daughter lived there. That was my in-laws' house for 30 years. So I'm very familiar with this now. And so you know where I'm coming from. First, you mentioned during the presentation occupancy, but I didn't get the maximum occupancy of this facility.
So per the zoning code, the permitted use is that they're requesting is correctional placement residence general, in which more than 15 individuals can occupy the space. Now granted, when they apply for their certificate of occupancy to actually move in there, like they won't be subject to building codes that trump the zoning code in that sense.
Is that 1.5 or 5.0?
15, yeah, so more than 15 individuals under this permitted use.
Next question, what is the freedom of movement for these residents?
So I don't have an exact answer for you. I don't know if that is something that is subject to the applicant or the city code, but either way, I don't have those details.
In the applicant was with next.
Okay.
So then I'll skip the next question because then the applicant will have to answer that as well. My last question. What were the 3 planning commissioners, actually BZA commissioners, what was their opposition? What was their reason for voting?
I don't recall the exact conversation. If I know that the applicant was there, so if you guys remember, I really don't recall the exact. I don't even remember which commissioners voted against it, to be honest. And then, from there, I have to see what they were saying during that meeting. So.
Thank you.
So I was reading a letter, asking, from the applicant to complete their appeals. And it says in there that they are not incarcerated, they're not confined, they're not under arrest, they're free to leave at any time because this is like substance abuse treatment. So I don't really speak more to that, but I think people might think it's incarcerated, like this is a jail. So it sounds like it's just sober. Am I wrong?
So the reason that it's considered correctional placement residence is because of the sentence before that. So they're seeking treatment for their addictions due to involvement with the justice system. So if you compare the next clause there, either as a condition of probation, conversion, sentencing alternative, or parole. So if you go to the definition of the zoning code, that would be, part of a local sentence, at or near a prison sentence, require court order guidance services. So this is, again, this is not, it's like an institution, it's just, it may be a condition of parole.
Can you expand on any qualifications of social?
I think they're concerned with, the residents who may occupy the space.
Just general safety.
General safety concerns, I think trash was a concern, security.
Seeing no further questions, thank you, Christina. We know you're gonna stay close by. Questions, I would ask the applicant to come up, and we'll give you about 5 minutes, to make comments, kind of go over any of the questions that you can remember, and then questions from the district advisory board. Okay? Thanks.
I will do my best. Phil Meyer with Hoffman Company, agent for the applicant. So we barely got this in 10 minutes of planning. We're trying to cut it in half for you. The applicant is Word Life Church, because Word Life Church is the property owner today. There's a contract purchase on this from Mirror Inc. With me here tonight is Des Martins, who's the president and CEO of Mirror Inc. Also with me is Mike Duggan, the director of treatment. Those two, we're going to cut them out of the presentation to keep it 5 minutes, but they're here to answer all your questions. They have the answers to your questions, what type of operation they're running, and their clientele is wide. So Mirror Inc. has been in business since 1972. They provide alcohol and substance abuse treatment facilities all over the state of Kansas. They have 4 locations that have residential housing, of which we're proposing here. They have 10 locations that provide outpatient facilities. They're located, their offices in Newton. They provide assessment centers in all their locations where they have facilities. We are looking at probably 30 to 60% of the residents at this specific facility to be for facility. That number will cycle up and down. Why say that again?
The percentage.
30 to 60% of the clients will be in there from the judicial system. And that goes up and down. It varies. That drug and the alcohol and substance abuse facility is allowed in the geo zoning that's there today. What we cannot do is have the people in the facility without this terminology of correctional placement facility. So I'm going to go off track for a minute, but I want to give you an example of this is a situation where our zoning ordinance maybe needs some adapting. So it used to be until 1 to 2 years ago that if you wanted to have music in your restaurant, 1 band or 3-man band and they're playing, you had to go get a nightclub in the city zoning to do that. And now we can do that with entertainment. This is the same situation. We cannot take somebody to be in this facility where the judge feels like the best thing for them is to go to treatment for a while. We can't do it without having correctional placement residents. So these are not criminals that we're putting in here. These are human beings that have a substance problem or an abuse problem, and they need some treatment. In the staff report, it states in there that we got to meet Title 20.08 which is alternative correctional housing, and we have no issue. They operate a facility today in Wichita with residents in it. They're used to that. They can do that with no problem at all. This existing facility, and that picture's great. I'm gonna ask you to just blow it up around the green bubble a little bit. So this facility consists of 5 buildings in there. In the beginning of this, we're planning on 2 of those buildings being for residents and 2 of those buildings being for outpatient. That can change with time and we take on more residents eventually. In that center building, more than likely, one of those buildings is going to be a kitchen and day facility for people. So with that, each of those rooms have got probably, each of those buildings have 6 to 7 rooms. My aging memory may get this wrong. I believe that was constructed originally for Home Plus facility. Then Word of Life Church bought it and used it for dormitories for their students. And I think the neighbors have had some problems and concerns with when that was a dormitory and the kids floating around at all hours. Des and Michael can answer your questions for you about nobody going into this facility is going outside the doors and walking around without an escort. So this is a very well protected situation in these. And in closing, I want to say there's a fear factor that goes with that terminology, correctional placement of residents. Please don't let that fear factor make your decision before you listen to all the information about what it is that they are doing with this facility and how they operate it. And I want you to remember they can do the use today. The only thing they can do is take a 4-quarter person into the facility. So this use can go there today. It just doesn't meet the true need of the city of Wichita has without having that correction placement of residents in. Before I open it to questions, anything you want to correct what I said, or are you ready for questions and answers? All right.
All right. You need a few extra minutes to be a little lenient, a lot of good information. I'm make sure everybody has all the information they need from the district advisor to be able to make a good decision. So with that, I know Tim, just bounce it to you first. I know you have some questions and then we'll go from there.
It's going to be a tag team. I'm not sure which one of us gets the answer. So you ask the question, let's pick one.
Mine was fairly easy. I think I got the answer more or less. The occupancy maximum is 15 now, but it could through the governing body be increased.
So the 15 means we got to have the general behind the word correctional placement. If it's less than 15, it could be limited. There's 2 options: correctional placement residence general, correctional placement residence limited. Under 15 people is limited, over 15 people is general.
You just answered the frequent question. I'm curious about occupant oversight, what that is.
I'm gonna let you guys decide who wants that. Absolutely.
So your question
Please
is
state your
regarding.
name. Can you please state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Michael Dean, GEG.
Thank you.
So the question, I believe, was in regard to supervision.
Yeah.
Myself. Yes. So in this facility, we intend to serve adolescents. It's been identified need in Wichita that many have been vocal about, and that we're happy to address. So in our adolescent programs, these are programs that are supervised 24/7. Residents are with us 24/7. We have clinical staff that are available between hours of 8 to 5. We're interacting with treatment services are actually taking place in the form of clinical groups, individual sessions, and similar treatment services. In the hours where clinical staff are not available, and even during the daytime hours when they are, We also have our addiction tech staff. So these are individuals who may have experience in recovery themselves. Many may also not be in recovery. Many are certified by the state of Kansas as peer mentors, as case managers, and such. So these are the staff that spend the majority of the time during off hours. It will be supervised at all times. So if there are recreational periods of time when they're outside of the buildings, going between buildings because of the structure of this particular location, there will be staff with responsibility.
These young people, some of them will be in school, in the regular school system, while they're residents here.
Yeah, so it's an excellent question. Our treatment program is 28 days, so it's a relatively brief time. So we have a few different options that may be pursued, depending on what that adolescent's current education situation is. If they are enrolled in school, we do have the option to continue the school virtual setting. We currently offer that in our adolescent program, total location. So there's a designated space where students can access the internet, continue their classwork, connect with educators. It is not uncommon that an adolescent may enter our services and not currently be enrolled in school. So that may be something that, if possible, we're able to assist with their reentry into the education system. But due to the brief nature of their treatment, sometimes that's just not possible.
My last question is, what were members of the BZA, those who were in opposition to this, what was their decision? How did you respond to that?
I'll defer to that sheet in there.
It did not specify a reason why. We had 3 no votes, and there was really neither conversation prior to the vote and after the vote. No. So I left a couple things out.
So can you choose to get the microphone?
Left a couple things out, and Des can come up here and correct me when I'm done. And Michael just told me their staff here 24/7. There could be adolescents and adult treatment both happening in this location. So they're very focused on the adolescent because the community has asked for that. Says there's a need for it. We do Russia, knows, not just adolescents, but the adults. In there too.
As Martin's president and CEO of Mirror, just wanted to add a couple of things just to share. Our company is a company that began in Newton, Kansas, with a small outpatient office, a humble beginning, and grew over the last 50 years to be the largest provider of addiction treatment in Kansas with multiple residential and outpatient facilities, a federal reentry program into PEPA. We have Work for Success, and then we have a strong youth development component called STAND that has received national and state attention for working in high schools and decreasing substance use and promoting mental health. So that's like the prevention department. So this really came from our board. They've got a long history of investing in communities. And we saw that Sedgwick County Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board's 2023 annual report identified substance use treatment for adolescent males and females 10 to 17 years of age being the #1 need in the county. Mirror, being deeply committed to this work, stepped up and said, we will try to provide that. We will provide that if we can make it work. We already, in 2022, we began piloting a small program of adolescents on our wing at Reflections at the Token location. And we've served over 100 adolescents there very successfully. So this is a way to meet the needs of the community. And this will be a community-based location that provides life-saving, life-changing treatment for those that need it for adolescents. But we'll focus on adolescents, but some adults as well. But the buildings are wonderful because if you have a 10-year-old, if you have a female, you have male 17, you don't want them in the same. So this is a really nice location in terms of being able to split those groups out. I did want to also hit on the fact that I think we already said, but just to know, we do not serve individuals convicted of sexually based offenses in any of our locations. except our reentry into people, which is a different, totally different kind of work, or those on the violent offender registry list. But you have to think about when you use an illicit substance, you're breaking the law. And so having a connection to the juvenile system or the justice system is very common part of substance use. You're either not caught or you're, I mean, if it's not alcohol, then you're either not caught or you are caught, but you have violated the law.
Questions for Ms. Martin? All right, just hang tight. Thank you very much for your job answering questions. Now we'll go to the community. If there's anybody who would like to come to the microphone, please try and speak into it. We also ask that you state your name and your address for the record, your address when comfortable. And I'll do timing and we'll give you 5 minutes and then we'll ask any questions that we have, okay? Awesome.
My name is Josh Alvin. I'm with Adams Jones Law Firm and I represent Union Mills Apartments LLC. Our address is 1635 North Waterfront, Suite 202 from 200, sorry. So I did find some things that I heard, and I was there at the planning commission, and I spoke there as well. And there's some things that I still have got unanswered that at least my clients want to know. And a few of those happen to do with not just how the planning staff got to their decisions, but what information specifically about the facility are we not getting complete? Things such as, is it a Senate Bill 123 funded program, meaning that this is a program for alternative placement, as in a person offense for drug-related crimes. They could be charged with a multitude of crimes, but because there is a drug charge in there, they're eligible for treatment instead of or in lieu of jail time. And so those are some things that I believe that not only I've heard as from the community itself, but also from my clients. Also considering that Kansas has a recidivism rate of over 30%, and that this isn't a locked facility or it's a facility that has supervision, but how does that deal with, say, there are other facilities? Has there been increased police presence, EMS presence, other things that we would have to be concerned of as part of the community? I know that they have their 37th and Tobin location specifically, and I was curious whether or not the planning commission did any outside investigation or even number running between the police department on the north side to determine whether or not there is increased planning or there is police presence that is needed. Those are things that are included in their golden rule that wasn't included in the staff report. And so those are the things that I think that we as a community need to be apprised of, because these are important things. Furthermore, I noticed that we have stated that if this was general office, this could happen today. Yes and no. It could happen if there wasn't any residences around it. That's the real issue here, is that there's still residents around it. There's still require certain waivers. There's still certain city council things that have to be approved as well. It can't just happen tomorrow. And still, if they are taking in those correctional placements, those restrictions are there. We put that in the code there for a reason. The same way that we have a 500 setback for a sexually explicit business. We want to make sure that we, as a community, have particular safeguards. And we can't just ignore the law, because that's what the code is. It's the law. And whether or not we give a waiver to it, and we say, oh, well, you don't have to listen to this part of the law, but we really want you to listen to this part of the law. It's that arbitrary, let's pick and choose whatever we want to do. There's other issues that we also need to talk about. There's daycare facilities. This is high density residential area. If there is increase, what are the numbers of violent offenders? What are those numbers? And even with those 100 participants, I want to know, what is the rate of recidivism? What is the rate of those people coming back in? If we're only doing a 28-day facility or a 28-day placement, what type of numbers are we expecting that justifies this placement in this type of community? Because we look at their facility on Lodge, It's in a commercial area, 37th to Tobin, that's a commercial area. It's not very high density residential areas, so those are the questions that I think that need to be answered for anybody in the community, as well as people who have spent time, energy, and money invested directly in this CUP. That's the other problem here, is that CUPs are an investment. We put rules in CUPs to attract business. We put rules in CUPs to attract land value. We put CUP rules in there to protect you. And when we make amendments like this, we're saying, well, we know you're concerned. We know that you have some issues. We know that you have some feelings towards this. But that investment that you make, we're not really concerned because this outweighs it. And so those are the other parts that we really have to look at. While I think that the staff report does have a lot of good points to it, and I do believe that this is a service that is needed, I don't think this service is needed in this particular area, in this particular zone area. To answer a few questions, the building's been put up for sale since December 2022. On top of that, I can tell you as a former juvenile prosecutor, a great recidivism rate for juvenile offenders that have drug and alcohol associated crimes is about 40%. I can also tell you that in any type of placement, including places like Bob Johnson and Hutchinson, or even sync placements for out-of-home children in child immediate care cases, will have increased EMS, increased fire, increased police presence. Those are just the basic facts. And I'll see for everybody.
Any questions for the speaker? Amen. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Next speaker, please. Welcome. If you would speak into the mic and put your hand in, and then also state your name and your address if you're comfortable. Thank you.
My name is Denise Strickland, and I'm at 2210 Homestead Road. This is the first time I've ever been anything like this. So pretty much I have a little passion for maybe like that. First of all, I'm a nurse, and I respect the need for this type of service. We are severely underserved in our community. My concerns are where we're choosing to put this location. The way we communicated that this was going to be placed in this location. And then I'll speak about some personal things I have regarding drug and alcohol addiction. And the big thing that was red flag just now is we had court-ordered adolescents. We all know kids. And kids they're sneaky, they're conniving. You can put them in a facility where they are closed in and they will probably find a way to get out, or they will find a way to get the substance they are needing in. That's kids, they can do that. Adults, the very same way. I had an adult living with me going through alcohol and rehab. I was a home for kids. I knew all the tricks. I processed, I went to rehab, I followed this guy around, took care of him, and unbeknownst to me, was getting drugs and alcohol during the whole process. So that's a personal experience for me with just what we have. I'll back up to communication regarding this change. My husband and my daughter lives in the apartments at Union Mill. We were driving by one day and this sign was crumpled up in the ground. And we're kind of nosy. We want to know what you're going to put there. It might be a new burger place I want to go to. Who knows? So we pulled up the sign and I realized what it said. I called the number on it. I didn't get a call back, but I was diligent. Had my daughter check she called the morning of the meeting last week, which I got to YouTube into. So that was how I found out about it. She really didn't have anything. She hadn't seen the sign. It was broken down and torn in the ground. I'm not sure how long it was there. So communication. I spoke to the director of La Petite today. She did not know that was being considered out her back door until a resident came to her last Thursday as well and said,
hey, do you know this? I asked her if I could tell her story today, and she said, yes, her name is Sheila. I spoke to her. My daughter knows the manager of an apartment complex in that area. She talked to her today. She knew nothing about this rezoning going on for this piece of property literally in her backyard. That's a concern. I realize that there's supposed to be letters that go out to people, and the communication is supposed to be out there. And did it get tossed in the trash? Did it get missed? Did it get filed wrong? I can't speak to that, but that's a concern for only for my daughter and my husband and I, her boyfriend, and the businesses around her. Didn't get communication for it.
Okay, I am going to take that one shortly, but 200 feet is the perimeter where it goes out, and so that's what it is right now, state statute. And then also in an apartment situation, it just goes to the owner of the apartment.
That's what it does.
Yeah, so, if your daughter would take permission, probably would have got it for that reason.
I was great when you was here and they didn't know about that.
So, thank you.
That's what she was at.
Thank you so much.
So those are big concerns. When I listened to the meeting, you asked a couple questions today about the name people at the meeting. Mr. Zimmerman, he was recognized to speak, and he had comments. He said he had comments received about people that he got message on, were like, who's going to be running around at night? Who's going to be watching these people inside? It sounds like they have a plan. I have to see that in action, but I mean, the lady who lived right behind the property, I believe it was Miss Carol, she lived adjacent to the property. She remembered when Life Prep had their dormitories there, and there were kids out at all times of the day. Granted, it wasn't a closed unit, as I would call it, but there still was concern of who's going to keep this structure in. We all know about budget cuts, and are we always going to have somebody there watching these 28-day people who are court-ordered to stay in this facility? I guess my next thing is to part of your neighborhood. My daughter lives there. I was comfortable. She can walk her dog anytime she wants to. She's comfortable. I'm comfortable. She can go for a run. They can go to all the establishments between First Block and Tinker Block. But I won't feel comfortable if this isn't her backyard, that she can have that kind of comfort to go do that. And that's me as a mom. And for anybody who lives there, I see kids run around playing all the time. How that can impact other parents if that is something that's in their backyard that their kids really. So.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you for being here. Thank you for your comments. Is there another speaker?
Hi, Dr. Wesley Goodrich. I'm a new physician to the area. Practicing with the medical center, but my comments are more reflection of my own beliefs, not those of my employer. Serving as a primary care provider previously in the Kansas City area and working with human cannabis and other substance use facilities to provide aid for this monumental and nationwide epidemic that is arising. Obviously, my first priority is the care of my patients and access for them. And I know that just making great comments on this, even though it is donation dollars, it sounds like it was already identified by the population that this was the number one priority and concern. So it makes sense that the dollars go to that big priority. When addressing things like substance use, abortion, all those things that we deal with as primary care providers and try to direct them to services. We don't talk about their ramifications, and I'm sure from the perspective of somebody in the healthcare field as well, doctors can probably seem very attached at times, describing things, making references, not really having to follow up. Primary care physicians are uniquely qualified and you get a little bit more of that continuity and develop relationships with our patients. As you mentioned, a concern putting a facility like this in the community, loved ones, relatives in that area, we mentioned kind of that concern about the kids running around and being able to play. And it sounds like this facility would provide that exact same experience for those that are needing to feel less disenfranchised as they're doing their substance uses. And I would hate to see us trying to further siphon and exclude them by placing them in areas that are more commercialized or more institutionalized, fenced in. I feel like that would really perpetuate the stigmas that we have in society. Alcoholism is the leading substance use disorder right now in the United States, but we don't have the same feelings and thoughts and stigmas about that we do around other substances, as you mentioned. This is the one that is a criminal offense. So I just like you to consider in this zoning process, just the fact that this would be going to address the primary need right now, access to these types of facilities and services as a primary care physician.
Any questions? Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to Wichita. Any other speakers? Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to bring it back to the district advisory board, and if the district advisory board members have any questions for staff. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, we now hear from the applicant for follow-up. I'm so sorry, pardon me. And thank you. Thank you, Christina. Glad you're in the front row, keeping me on track. Sorry about that.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, is there any way I can give one comment? It's Christina Jackson. I've been watching on Facebook.
Yes, but can you give us just a few minutes to have the applicant make a few comments and then we'll bring it?
That's fine. Yeah. Let me try to mute. I gotta find the mute, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, Phil, if you want to address anything, you sure can. Sorry about that. And then we'll go to another community. Well, just go.
You want to do that, if you want to.
Christina, why don't you go ahead and go? And that way if you need to run.
Okay, I live at 2307 North Inwood Circle, so just north of the area. And I don't know, I've been involved a lot with the MAC going down to the Midtown Historic Center. And I just want to say, I'm actually glad that our neighborhood and our area can provide something like this for the city, because it seems like it disproportionately goes to the center of Wichita. So I as long as, they do the security, I am glad that this is coming and it's going to be there to help the kids, and that our area is able to provide this. And as with the MAC, I understand the security issues and the fears. So just trust that these guys will do what they need to with security and watching these young people. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. And for those who don't know, when Ms. Jackson referred to the MAC, it's the multi-agency center. We just recently purchased Park Elementary School, which is a school that USD 259 closed. And it's going to be our emergency shelter, not just winter shelter, but also in heat when people's health is certainly vulnerable. And then also, so the next phase then will be a multi-agency center, where there will be a place for kind of all the services that someone who is experiencing being in house with needs such as mental health, substance abuse, the VA, safety net clinics, federally qualified health centers, legal aid, so they can get an IT, so they can apply for jobs or get a driver's license. We're still food services, still trying to recruit partners who will be there, but that's what that is, when she was referring to that, just in case it could be doing that. So thank you, Phil, with that, that's all you.
Yep, Phil Meyer, I'll be very brief with this. So again, and I'm being redundant here, but he's asking not to let the fear of the unknown sway how you want to get this vote. Got two individuals here, Michael and Des. I was making some notes from when Joshua came up and the other lady came up expressing their concerns. If you want more information, they'd be glad to explain to you how their entrance application process works for somebody to get in here. They would be glad to the program. What happens if they choose to be discharged early? They can address whether they've been, you know, the first question is the police presence or call, they can address that. You like, they can talk to you about the percentage at the beginning of adolescents versus adults in the facility, and we can discuss further more information about residents that are there 24/7 versus outreach program they so that I'm going to be quiet. If you want any of that information answered in more detail, then we'll have that come up.
Thank you. Now we're gonna bring it back to the district advisory board. This is the time for us to ask questions, if we have additional questions, make any comments that we have, Chris and, Tracy. Thank you, Tracy, we've still got you, so, if you have any questions or want to make any comments, please let us know online as well, but now it's to the depth for discussion, and then we'll take a vote.
I have a question about the Tobin property. I'm sure you have all your figures in order of calls for service from EMS, fire, and police. What does that look like at the Tobin property currently?
Yes, please try to explain.
In regards to the Tobin property, we are required for our licensing by KDAS to make certain reports on instances of contact with law enforcement, emergency medical services, and such. So just taking kind of a snapshot of data from the past 6 months, discussing the Tobin facilities, and in particular being here in Wichita. Emergency services have been dispatched 9 times, so 5 of those were for adolescents who chose to leave the facility. So to speak a little bit more about that, because I know that has been brought up as a concern, I'd like to just explain a little bit about how that process works. Ideally, when a client has completed services, they will be released to their guardian. And so in case of adolescents, there may be parents, that may be a say social worker, maybe a justice worker, or a provider. And these services are evolving. So we talked a lot about this evening that services are court ordered. We cannot require that they complete programs. And there are times in fact when they do not complete and will choose to leave early. With adolescents who choose to leave the facility early, staff will either be notified or our entire facility is covered with cameras. The doors are locked. So anyone who leaves the facility who is not staffed, who is not badged out, will trip that alarm, and we're able to see those things on camera immediately, so we know, because the monitors are 24/7 with text behind the desk that watch for these specific cases. If someone has left without notifying staff, left without completing the discharge process. And so those events, law enforcement is contacted. Of those 9 times, there were 5 instances of this occurring during the past 6 months. The other instances of law enforcement or emergency services being contacted, there was one non-fatal witness who had some color to this situation. This happened very immediately following the admission of an adult. There was one miscellaneous report, one mental health case that required transportation to other services provided in this area, and one contact for.
Can you talk a little bit about the admission process to the program?
So our admission process starts with screening. The screening can be taking place with our assessment center, which is also housed here in Wichita, Patty Street. It can also come from any other licensed provider in the state of Kansas. So we service adolescents not only from here in Sedgwick County, but statewide. And as we all know, there's a very significant lack of resources for clients in the state. So services can be initiated from anywhere with completion of that assessment. That assessment covers a number of different dimensions. Obviously, we're assessing for the presence of substance use disorder. We also assess for mental health disorders, for living situations, for educational placement, for physical health needs, and other potential issues that may impact the course of treatment. That allows us to make clinically sound decisions concerning the appropriateness of a client for our services. And there are cases where we determine the client to be appropriate because of an underlying mental health disorder that requires stabilization. Rather than admitting those clients to a level of care where we have a reasonable suspicion there is not a probability of success, we will link them with the appropriate services elsewhere in the community or the state to address those needs before admission.
The next question is, you guys talked about that you don't accept violent offenders, so there's no registry for 18 and under violent offender registry. So how do you monitor that for the border adolescents?
I appreciate you bringing that up because I failed to respond to that in previous questions. So for adults, so there are registries that we can access that will provide us with that information. For adolescents, because many of the adolescents we serve are involved in the justice system, we will be communicating with the courts, and probation officers, other involved entities that are generally making the referrals.
Can you give an example of what a juvenile violent offender, what something that they have done that would keep them from entering the program?
So any sex-related crimes, and any person crimes.
Further questions, discussion, thank you.
So I do believe that this is a need in the community, but there's a few things that stuck out. First, the keys that the individuals would be supervised 24/7, but not necessarily, there's no necessarily licensure requirement.
We are required for the state of Kansas to maintain our licensure.
But so the actual individual student supervision all under that, whereas the facility.
That is, okay, I understand the question now. So that is the facility licensure. We have clinical staff that provide the treatment services. So those would be individuals who are licensed as addiction counselors, mental health counselors, social workers, etc. Those staff are available generally 8 to 5. We do have facilities, including here in Wichita, where we have staff that float outside of those hours. The remainder of our staff, outside of admin and such, are addiction tech staff. And those I think are who you're referring to that are not necessarily licensed. However, many are certified in the state of Kansas as peer mentors, as case managers, and some of the peer positions.
Expand upon kind of the plans for introduction of adults into the facility.
Adults in facilities. Yes. So in the, you can see the layout, there are 4 buildings, so that offers quite a lot of opportunities for us. Our primary goal with this facility is to service the adolescent needs in the state of Kansas. Currently only offer services to a narrow window of adolescent males. We're going to expand those ages from 16 and 17 to additionally 10 and 17. And there's other licensing requirements that we don't know. We have to jump through those steps to be able to provide services to such a client. We also want to be able to provide services to female adolescents as well, which is something we do not currently do. There's a major deficit of in the state also. So, giving us a little bit off the question of the state.
So, plan for the facility to maintain this for the program, support the programs, and then allow the option for it.
Yes. So the adult services.
We're looking at the needs females,
adult females, in our children's facility, which is called men and early males, adolescents and elderly. So having one house would perhaps be for women at some point would be a nice addition. We're gonna see the needs first of adolescents. I want to say another really good thing about our work is that we do have a nursery facility during the day hours and non-call meetings. We have a medical director that supplies medication assisted treatment. And I will say that is changing the landscape for some of the addictions. People are successful now when they have medication assisted treatment. Michael would know more about this than I do as a medical person. But when I looked at research for adolescents, providing medication assisted treatment when it's needed, there were very few. Even other states are just coming on board with that. When you have adolescents that use fentanyl, I'm sorry, but it's out there and it's in a lot of things. They need some support, but they just want to hold once they start getting those cravings. So we do have a medical person that does consultation with our adolescents and our adults, so they can get the support they need to actually break that addiction.
And our medical director was based here in responsible.
Alright, further discussion from the district advisory board. And again, Chris and Tracy, if you have anything, just give us a call or we'll make sure you get your questions answered or if you make any comments, but we'll have discussion until the district advisory board feels they're ready to make a motion.
I just have a few comments. I heard like this basically like the CEP process, and I've spoken to county meetings about the same thing. This is exactly why we have this process, so that we can potentially listen to the government and the public and property owners all have an opportunity to weigh in and potentially make decisions. This is why we have this process. So, and when I look at the golden rules, whether or not recidivism is up or down in the juvenile justice system really doesn't have a bearing on the zoning case. I really try to use the golden rules, especially number 3 and number 5, when we talk about the focus should be on facts and not fears, and what is the gain to public health and safety and the property owners' right to use their property. So I try to take all of those into account, but I think it's really important that we start saying yes in my backyard instead of no in my backyard more. I do have sober living youngsters for me. I do have shelters for it's like housing for people that are transitioning, not just for sober living. That's a different thing. This is for people that were homeless. And so there's quite a few in my neighborhood, and nothing bad has happened that has anything to do with those houses. All the bad things are coming from other places. So I just, when I look at the golden rules, when I hear what they're stating and what they're asking for, I will argue to prove it.
Can I make one quick comment? I think we need to motion, or you already gonna make sure you make comments, motion. Okay, so just so the residents in the community know, the reason I'm not making comments or the reason I'm not weighing in is per state statute, I am now allowed to, if somebody calls me tomorrow and asks me how I'm gonna go back, I cannot tell them. The only time that I can make a decision of how I'm gonna vote is when I actually get to the city council bench, so from the city council, we'll have a staff presentation from the director of the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. We'll have kind of a similar process, except there isn't public comment at that meeting, the MAPC meeting, the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, and the district advisory board meeting tonight serves as the public comment. So there won't be public comment, that our council members are there and ask questions of staff, and then the applicant if they need to, and then we make so I am, if you're concerned that I'm not making comments, I'm not asking questions myself, I'm not gonna vote with the district advisory board, I'm not able to press the exception. So I've had people leave these meetings before and say, wow, you didn't make any comments, you must not care. Not the case at all, just trying to stay out of trouble. So with that, Tim.
I have a question.
Sure.
This motion, selects as we must take this motion take the form of recommendations to the governing body, or does it take the form of approval of?
So the recommendation is to approve unless you, and in this case, will be approved with the conditions from the MAPC, is that correct?
Yeah, so typically, if you would like to, if everything looks good in this report. Make a motion to approve subject for staff comments. That was the motion that was made at FEC. If you want to modify any of these conditions, you know, you want to recommend approval of your own conditions, approve subject to X, Y, Z.
But if you want it just like it's presented today, you can just, it says here in the recommendations part, Tim, recommends, so you can say, I make a motion. And I'm not telling you how to make a motion, I'm just helping you with parliamentary procedure, so. Just want to be clear.
And just to be clear, staff.
I know the planner arguments.
Yeah, so it's actually the conditions that are in the recommendation section. So it will be so when it says the for condition number 2, the site shall be developed in substantial conformance with the revised development guidelines. That's what's in red.
That's what?
That is what's in red. So when the revised development guidelines that we're referring to are on page 5 of your report. Yep.
This area, and I go back 35 years. Spent a lot of time in this area. My son, his 4-year-old daughter, live on Chatham. She's part of this neighborhood. My son has worked with another agency helping young people deal with addiction and behavioral problems. So he knows from personal experience what can or happen in this area. And I've seen it. But I'm going to move to approve this request with inclusion of staff conditions articulated in this report. I'll stop right there. Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, I'm gonna call the vote, and we do a quorum, so the vote is valid, but we also have an even number. And so, I'm gonna call, if I hear, like, you know, because we have a couple people online, we make sure we get their voices heard. I may call the vote just to make sure I get it accurate, if it doesn't seem to be apparent to everyone, right? And Teresa needs a little minutes of the actual practice. So, motion, we have a second, no further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there? Aaron is opposed. Chris, did we get your vote?
I approve it. I'm good with it.
Motion passes 5-1. Thank you, community members, for being here. Thank you, applicants, for being here. Christina, thank you. Great job. Please do.
I want to thank you all because there are children that are dying in this community and they deserve every chance to live.
And I want to thank everybody for coming, especially if it's your first meeting. I'm a big fan of civic education, so we hope you come to another one.
And certainly please come back again, right? And bring your neighbors and friends and reach out at any time if you need anything. Happy to help in any way. With that, the last thing on our agenda is adjournment, but I do want to mention tomorrow's neighborhood night out. So I will be riding all over District 2. I'm super excited. 1 year I had 9 of those. This time I've only got 5. So I'll be able to have a hot dog in each one. Right? So that's my goal. If you are having a neighborhood night out event tomorrow or during different times, please enjoy, please be safe, let the police and fire know, and me and we'll all be there. Watch the children, keep on the street. So the next district advisory board meeting is Monday, September 9th at 6 p.m. We'll be right here again. Sorry, it's a longer drive for some of you, but we will be here. And as always, I'd like to thank Teresa, not only what you see her do district advisory board, but you do all that she does to support District 2 and her residents. I can't begin to thank her enough, and I will do anything I can to make her happy. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second, or motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed can stay. You know what I'm saying to people, it's getting darker there. Oh, I know.